Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing Galaxy Dash 4 on BugForge. As you can tell, it's a little bit different format for the video today. I'm changing my setup around just a little bit, so for the time being, I'm just going to do the video of the walkthrough, and that's it. Not going to worry too much about the other stuff. But so anyway, I've already gone ahead and gotten an account set up on this application. I've got an account, an organization registered, and if we look through here, right off the bat, there's this request support functionality that hasn't been present on um, previous Galaxy Dash challenge labs. So if we take a look at that, we see that we need to have a delivery already scheduled in order to be able to use this. So let's cancel out of this and we'll go book our uh, first delivery. And I'm just going to say test. None of this other stuff really matters. You can make this whatever you want. Um, so when we book the delivery, we see that there's this other new functionality down here for downloading the invoice. Right? So if I do that, then I get this invoice. And if I come back over here to Kaido and look at the download, you can see that this is just the HTML of the page, right? So if we look through here, we can see um, some of our input is actually reflected here. So what I want to do is before I go back over to the support request, I want to poke at this just a little bit. So I'm going to create a new delivery, and I want to see if I can get any HTML rendered on this on the invoice page. So try to do a strike through here. Real easy, doesn't really affect anything. So now if I go back and look at the invoice, I see that it's not being rendered, right? And if I look at it, um, sorry, clicked on the wrong one. If I edit this as HTML, then I can see that the angle brackets are being output encoded. So the HTML isn't being rendered. So you can play around with this a little bit and see if you can bypass whatever filter is in place. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but my guess is that um, there's some sort of regex that's looking for uh, something like this, like an angle bracket followed by text, followed by an angle bracket. Um, and if it sees that, then it's output encoding the angle brackets. Again, I'm not 100% sure what it actually does look like, but um, I think it's probably something like that. So if I let me stop this from um, continuing to send a bunch of requests. So if I come back and find that post request to the API bookings endpoint, and I send that to the replay, what I can do is, um, well, before I do it in replay. I'll take a look at this in the UI, and then we'll look at it in replay. So if I do a new one and I try to escape the angle brackets, um, what I expect to happen now is to see if this will bypass the um, regular expression check, um, because it's what I'm trying to do is trying to get it to think that this is just a string, um, and that it's not actually an HTML tag. So, or get it to not interpret it as an HTML tag and get it to interpret it as a string so that it bypasses the regex check and gets dropped into the DOM. So let's try that. And now if we look, now we see that the HTML is actually being rendered. So now if I look at this again, now we can see that it's no longer being output encoded, and it's actually being rendered on the page. So that's awesome. So let's see if we can get a cross-site scripting payload working here, and then we'll go from there. So let me find the request that I made with that one. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So you see that my one backslash is showing as a double backslash in the JSON. So I just need to keep that in mind when I'm building this payload in replay or repeater or whatever you're using. So let's do image source equals X and then on error. And for right now, we'll just do an alert one. Actually, we'll do a document domain. And then I need to close that out. And we'll try that and see if we get the cross-site scripting to execute. So if I download this invoice, it does, and we get the alert with the domain from which it executed. Okay, awesome. So now, if we go back here, let me close out of this. Now, if we go back, remember when we initially looked at this request support feature, there's select delivery, and you can choose whichever delivery you want them to look at. And there's also a support type. So one of the options is this invoice review, um, where we can ask them to look at the invoice for whatever particular delivery that we've specified up here. And we can send that. Now the issue is that if we sent this right now, um, they would open it up and they would get an alert on their computer uh, showing the domain, right? But that doesn't help us because we're not looking at their computer, we're looking at our computer. So we need to craft some sort of a payload that will reach back out to a server that we control when they view this. So let's go through and build that payload, and then we'll walk through actually exploiting it. So what I want to do, I'm going to keep the same general payload, but then instead of running an alert, um, I'm going to use a fetch, and let's just get a quick, come over here, quick SSRF. Let me clear out of these. I'll generate a new. Okay. Generate a new URL. And then if I come back up here, let's just first do this and see if I actually get a connection when I look at this. Okay, so that was created successfully. Now if I come back up and refresh and I look at that request or that delivery and I download the invoice, I see I get my broken image here. And if I come back over to here, I see that I do actually have a request. Okay, so cool. We've shown that we can get a request out to a server that we control. Now what I want to do is um, I want to figure out what I want to get. So if we look at the storage here, we see that we're not using any cookies, um, but we do have a token in the local storage. So this is what I want to try to target. I want to try to see if I can use the cross-site scripting to send the contents of local storage to my Interact SH server. So let me do that. You come back up here to my replay, find that request. And what I'm going to do is just say token. And then I want to append. I want to base64 encode this. So I want to use the B2A function. And then I'm going to use JSON stringify to convert the contents, the entire contents of local storage into a string. And then that will subsequently be base64 encoded. So I should just get a request here with the query parameter token, and followed by a nice base64 encoded string that when I decode it, it should show the full contents of my local storage. So let me create that and then come back over here, go back to the list and look at the new delivery. And if I download that invoice and look at it again, I see I get my broken image. And I'll come back over to quick SSRF, and this is the request that it just made. So we see that I did get a base64 encoded string here in the token query parameter. So now if I come over here and I decode that, we see that this is actually the contents of my local storage. So this is my own because I'm the one that's looking at the at the invoice. So this is executing in the context of my own browser. Um, so what we need to do is to try to get this to execute in the context of someone else's browser. So what we can do is we can come back over. Let me come back up here to quick SSRF because that's the one that we're going to want to be looking at. I close out of that. Now what I can do, so now that we know that this delivery has a cross-site scripting payload that is working for exfiltrating the contents of local storage, now I can come back up here and go to this support request, and I can select that delivery, and I can go to support type and select invoice review. Doesn't really matter. You can put whatever you want in here. Please review. And then submit request. And it said it'll be reviewed in a moment. So if we come back over here and just got to be a little bit patient. I'm pretty bad about being patient for this stuff. I'm usually sitting here hitting the refresh button like I'm a little kid in an elevator, just hitting all the buttons. But if we just give this a minute, we should get a request here shortly uh, from whoever is reviewing the invoice. So one moment, I'm just going to pause this so that I don't have a whole bunch of dead air. Okay, awesome. Couple of probably about 30 seconds after I paused that, I got the request back. So you see that now I've got a different string here. So now if I copy this and bring this over to my decoder, I see that there's just a new token in here, which is fine. Wasn't sure if there was going to be a flag in here or any kind of other information, but it's fine. There's a token. We can use that. And what we can do is we can come over here to JWT analyzer and look at it in a decoder. So it's the support user with the role of support bot. So now if I come over here, sorry, let's find, let's see. Yeah, we can use this get request to API bookings and send that to replay. Okay, so this is using my original token. So now if I replace my original token with the updated token from the support user, you can see we've got this X flag header with the flag in it. So one interesting thing that I did find in testing was that um, if you look at the invoice, you see that the organization's address and the organization's tax ID is also reflected in the invoice. So what you can actually do is you can actually modify those. Um, 123 main. And what I found was that there is not any filtering, at least there wasn't. There wasn't any filtering on um, on those values, right? So I just um, put in the HTML tag raw with no escaping or anything like that. Um, and you can see that it's actually being rendered in the address here. So that's another thing that you can do. Um, it's kind of a trade-off. There's probably probably just as many moving pieces trying to do that that way. But if you're um, running up against an issue trying to bypass the filter on the description, um, it's something that you can look at, and it's something that's good to test anyway. But thought it was interesting. There's also a server side request forgery um, on this as well. I figured out that if you modify the cargo size and you use an iframe here. This is just an aside. It's not useful for solving the lab or anything like that. But um, if you put an iframe um, in here, I'll show this. I'm just gonna say test, and we'll do an iframe with the source of our server. And we'll give it a width and a height so that we can see it. And then we send that, come back over, and we should be able to see this. This might not be the best example here because I'm not actually serving anything on here, but you can see that it is actually making a request, um, and it's getting the response. So in this particular case, this doesn't work um, for solving this lab because the iframe is being loaded across origin and it doesn't have access to the parent's local storage. If this was a case where um, we needed to read the flag from an endpoint, something like um, API slash flag, or if it was on an admin endpoint or something like that, then this would probably be a viable um, attack path for getting that because we could set up a server that's hosting a script that will um, get us that response back. It that it does work on here, but again, it's not useful for actually reading the flag. So I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to mention it as an aside, something you can kind of poke around with a little bit if you want to. But yeah, that was that was a couple different ways to solve the lab. I thought this was a really fun one. I liked that you needed to kind of chain those two things together, and you really kind of needed to pay attention to what the functionality of the application was, how things were working together, and then kind of leverage one vulnerability um, to abuse or to abuse one functionality um, through another one. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Uh, but yeah, thanks for watching. Please feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, concerns, and I will see you in the next one.